Well, today the first reading on the gospel, they are talking about the words that we speak. It says, "When a sieve is shaken, the husks appear. So do one's fault when one speaks. Praise no one before he speaks, for it is then that people are tested." This reminded me of a not that old movie, but a movie from at least probably 20 years ago. I get it sold. It says something like that. With two main characters who are in some kind of romantic relationship, with its ups and downs. And the woman would say to the man, the first time I saw you, I thought you were kind of handsome. And then you spoke, right? Which is true. I think the true beauty of a human being is not in the appearance, but in the heart. And when we talk, when we speak, we can actually find what's in our hearts and what's in the others' hearts, right? I think I've told you this story before, but I think it's quite appropriate for this gospel. There was a man sitting on the front steps of a building on a crowded street, and there were so many people passing by. So one man passing by looked at this man, and he says, "Look at this lazy guy. He's not doing anything." And he continued his way. Then some other guy stopped, and he looks at this man, and he says, "Look at this guy. He's just checking out girls. Shame on you." And he continued his way. And there was this other man. He stopped there, looked at this man, and he says, "Poor guy, he must have been working so hard all day long. He deserves to rest." And he continued. What can we say about this man who was sitting on the front on these front steps? Nothing. He was just there. What can we say about the other people, the other men who were talking? We can say that the first one was judgmental and probably a lazy guy. The second one was judgmental and probably a lustful guy. And the third one, probably he had a beautiful heart, always trying his best to think the best out of others, right? So what the mouth speaks, it allows us to see our own hearts and the hearts of others. So this is so important now, to always analyze our words. What are we saying? What are we, when we talk about others, how are we doing it? What are we saying? Because again, it's so easy to just be judgmental and to criticize others, because it's easier to blame on others instead of blaming it on you. It's part of the original sin at the beginning. We know that Adam and Eve, they blamed Adam on Eve and Eve on the snake. It's part of our fallen human nature. So when we analyze our speech, the way we talk, we can actually say, we can actually tell how are our hearts. So again, I think it's an invitation from our God to just take a moment to do a good examination of conscience and to analyze our words. How do we speak about others? Despite our personal story, we all have our own history. We all know, we have all gone through difficult situations. And there are people who have wounded us, for sure. That doesn't mean that we should talk bad about them, because that doesn't say much about them, but it tells a lot about ourselves. If we are talking bad about others, then it means that we need healing from God, right? And also, when we talk, again, if we have a good heart, good words will come out from our mouths. We have a sorrowful heart, we will have a sorrow words, bitter words coming from our mouths. But also, the words we say, they condition ourselves. They condition our heart. If we only speak bitter words, our hearts will stay in that way, will stay bitter. If we do our best to speak always good about others, just look the bright side of things, we will be making an effort to shape through God's grace, to shape our hearts in that peaceful and joyful heart. If we praise others or praise something or someone, it will be easier for us to love that someone, right? But if we are always complaining about someone, we are conditioning our hearts to actually hate that person. If we're criticizing all the time, we are hardening our hearts. So no, it's the words we say are very important. First, because they say what we have in our hearts, but also because they condition how we live. And it condition others how they live. And we as Christians, we're supposed to spread the good news. Joy, peace, holiness, right? If we're all the time criticizing, we're not spreading joy, but we are spreading bitterness. And that's never good. We know that God doesn't want that. You know, there's a story about he's a priest who witnessed this. Back then he was discerning whether God wanted him to be a priest or not. So he was part of a parish. And there was a celebration in the parish because I think the priest there, the pastor, he was celebrating one of his priest's anniversaries. So all the parish, they put together, it's a kind of, celebration event. And there was a stage. So at some point, they invited the priest, hey, Father, come onto the stage so you can give us some words. So when he was going to the stage, he tripped. He didn't fall, but he tripped. And the words that came out of his mouth were, Jesus. He tripped against Jesus. So this back then young man, he reasoned in this way. Take a look, listen. He reasoned, if the words coming out of the mouth of Father is Jesus, it means that he has Jesus in his heart. And I want to be like him. And that's when he decided his priestly vocation. So this is impressive. I mean, very simple thing. Jesus came out of his mouth. I'm not saying what I could have said, but I don't know. But maybe I know. Some people curse, some people say some profanity. I don't know what you would have said. I hope that you would have said also Jesus, right? But we would only be able to say Jesus if we have Jesus in our hearts. That's our prayer today. And that's what the Lord is reminding us. Be careful with your words, because with what you speak about, that's what you have in your heart. And as we prepare to live or to begin the Lenten season, it's a great opportunity to have an examination of conscience. And if you do an examination of conscience, it's to acknowledge your sins. And if you acknowledge your sins, you're not gonna just stay there. You're running to the sacrament of reconciliation, right? So that's the thing. That's a huge opportunity again that we have ahead of us. By God's grace, He always reminds us. He's always reminding us that we should take care of our hearts. And we are called to holiness. We're called to have the same heart as Jesus.